Good day. My name is Zulkifli Dading, and my report is about cognitive behavior therapy. So my objective is therapeutic process, therapeutic techniques and procedures, Aaron Beck's cognitive therapy. So cognitive therapy emphasizes cognitive process and private events such as client self-talk as mediators of behaviors change. So therapeutic process, meron siyang therapeutic goals which is the general goals is increase personal choice and create conditions for learning to eliminate maladaptive behaviors and learn more adaptive behaviors. Clients and therapists collaboratively decide a concrete, measurable, and objective treatment goals. So according to Ellis, we have a strong tendency not only to rate our acts and behavior as good or bad, worthy or unworthy, but also one of the main source of our emotional disturbance. Therefore, most cognitive behavior therapies have the general goals of teaching clients how to separate the evaluation of their behaviors from the evaluations of themselves, their essence, and their totality, and how to accept themselves despite of their imperfections. So therapy's function and role: be active and directive as a consultant and problem solver, conduct thorough functional assessment for formulate initial treatment goals, use strategies for behavior change, evaluate the success of the change, and conduct a follow-up assessment. Role modeling, which is the observing others' behavior. So the therapist has specific tasks that the first step is to show clients how they have incorporated or irrational should and must. The therapist disputes counter their self-defense belief and to replace the rigid must with the preference. Clients experience in therapy: to be taught concrete skills, to be motivated change, to enlarge the option of uh, adaptive behavior, to continue implementing the new behaviors. So once clients begins to accept that their belief are primary cause of the emotions and behavior, they are able to participate effectively in the cognitive restructuring process. Because psychotherapy is viewed as a reproductive process, clients learn how to apply logical thought, participate in experiential exercise, and carry out behavior homework as a way to bring out change. So clients can change. The life does not always work out the way that they would like it to be. Even though life is not always pleasant, clients learn that life can be bearable. So relationship between therapist and client. Therapeutic relationship still can contribute significantly to the process of behavior change. The client's positive expectation and hope for change contribute to successful outcomes. Common factors: warmth and empathy, acceptance, and etc. are necessary but not sufficient to the behavior change that occur. Believe the progress is due to specific behavioral techniques instead of the therapeutic relationship. So, because of the REB is essentially a cognitive and directive behavioral process, an intense relationship between the therapist and client are not required. As with the person-centered therapy of Rogers, REB practitioner unconditionally accept that all clients and unconditionally accept others and themselves. However, Ellis believed that too much warmth and understanding can be counterproductive by fostering a sense of dependence on approval from the therapist. Reb practitioner accept their clients as imperfect being who can be helped through a variety of techniques such as teaching uh, and behavior modifications. Ellis build rapport with the clients by showing them that he has a great faith in their ability to change themselves and that he has the tool to help them to do this. So therapeutic techniques and processes. So the practice of rational emotive behavior therapy, this is the red now. Rational emotive behavior therapies are multimodal and integrative. REB generally starts with the client's distorted feelings and intensely explores these feelings in connection with thought and behaviors. So REB practitioners tend to use several different modalities, which is the cognitive imagery, emotion, behavioral, and the interpersonal. They are flexible and creative in their use of method, making sure to tailor the techniques to unique needs of, of each client. So the therapeutic techniques and procedures, no? Ito siya. So operant conditioning techniques, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, extinction, positive punishment, and negative punishment. The functional assessment model, relaxation training. This is to cope up with stress. The systematic dissension for it is for anxiety and the avoidance of reaction. So modeling, the observational learning, exposure therapies, in vivo desensitization, brief and graduated exposure to actual fear situation or event. So flooding, prolonged and insensitive in vivo or imaginal exposure to highly anxiety evoking stimuli without the opportunity to avoid them. Eye movement desensitization in the and reprocessing. So an exposure-based therapy that involves imaginal flooding, cognitive restructuring, and the use of rhythmic eye movements and other bilateral stimulation to treat traumatic stress disorder and fearful memories of clients. So meron din tayong assertion training which is the social skills training, self-management strategies. So self-monitoring, self-aware, self-reward, multimodal therapy, clinical behavior therapy, clinical eclecticism, which borrow techniques from the another therapy, the basic ID, which is the behavior affective responses, sensation, image, cognition, interpersonal relationship, drugs, biological function, nutrition, and exercise. Rational emotive behavior therapies are multimodal and integrative. Generally starts with clients' distorted feelings, no? And intensely explores the feeling in the connection with thoughts and behavior. So yun yung sabi dito, no? So it has a different modalities which is the cognitive imagery, emotive, behavioral, and interpersonal. So applicants application of REB to clients population. REB has been widely applied to the treatment of anxiety, hostility, disorder, psychotic disorder, and depression, to problem of sex, love and marriage, to child rearing and adolescence, and to social skills training and self-management. So REP can be applied to couples counseling and family therapy. No? In working with couples, the partner are taught the principle of REP so they can work out their difference or at least become less disturbed about them. In family therapy, individual family members are encouraged to consider letting go of the demand that others from the family behave in ways to like them. Instead, Rev teaches family members that are primarily responsible for their own action and for changing their own reactions to the family situation. So Rev as a brief therapy. Rev is well suited as a brief form of therapy, whether it is applied to individuals, group, couples, or families. Ellis originally developed REV to try make psychotherapy shorter and more efficient than most other systems of the therapy, and it is often used as a brief therapy. Ellis has always maintained that the best therapy is efficient, quickly teaching clients how to tackle practical problems of living. Clients learn how to apply REV techniques to their present as well as the future problem. A distinguished characteristic of REV that makes it that makes it a brief form of therapy that is a self-help approach, approaching to changing basic disturbance creating attitudes can be learned into 1 to 10 sessions and then practiced at home. Ellis has used REB successfully in 1 and 2 day marathon in 9 hours REB insensitive insensitive. So people with specific problems such as coping up with loss of a job or dealing with retirement are taught how to apply REB principles and treat themselves, often with the supplementary didactic materials, so such as book, tapes, self-informs, and the like. So application to group counseling, a major strength of cognitive behavioral group is cognitive behavior also. Groups are among the most popular in the clinics and community agency setting. Two of the most common CBT group approaches are based on the principle and techniques of the REB and cognitive therapy. So, because of CBT is based on the broad principle of learning, it can be used to meet the requirement of a wide variety of a group with a range of different purposes. No, so the specific city of CBT allows for link among assessment, treatment, and evaluation strategies. So Aaron's Beck's cognitive therapy. Cognitive therapy perceives psychological problem as stemming from commonplace processes such as faulty thinking, making incorrect inferences on the basis of the inadequate or incorrect information and failing to distinguish between fantasy and reality. So Aaron Beck uh, developed an approach known as the cognitive therapy. Because of his research on depression, Beck was designing his cognitive therapy about the same time as Ellis was developing the REB. Yet they both appear to have created their approaches independently. So Beck's observation of depression clients revealed that they had a negative bias in their interpretation of certain life events, which contributed to their cognitive distortion. Cognitive therapy has several similarities to both rational emotive behavior therapy and behavior therapy. All of these therapies are effective, directive, time limited, present centered, problem oriented, collaborative, structure, empirical, make use of homework, and require explicit identification of problems and situation which they occur. So basic principle of cognitive therapy. Beck, a practicing psychoanalytic therapist for how many years, grew in interest in his clients' automatic thoughts. So personalized notion that are triggered by stimuli that lead to emotional responses. Beck contends that people with emotional difficulties tend to commit characteristic logical errors that tilt objective reality in the direction of self-deprecation. Let's examine for some let's examine of the systematic errors in reasoning that leads to faulty assumption and misconception, which are termed cognitive distortion. So as a part of psychoanalytical study, he was examining the dream content of the depressed clients of anger that are turning back on themselves. He began to notice that rather than to retrospective anger. As Freud theorized with depression, clients exhibited a negative bias in their interpretation or thinking. Beck asked clients to observe negative automatic thoughts that persisted even though they were contrary to objective evidence. And from this, he developed a comprehensive theory of depression. So ito yung arbitrary inference, selective abstraction, overgeneralization, magnification and minimization, personalization, labeling, mislabeling, uh, dichotomous thinking. So, the client's therapist in a relationship, no? One of the main ways that the practice of cognitive therapy differs from the practice of rational emotive behavior therapy is its emphasis on the therapeutic relationship. As you will recall, Alice viewed the therapist largely as a teacher and does not think that warm personal relationship with clients is essential. So it emphasizes the quality of the therapeutic relationship is basic to the application cognitive therapy. Through his writings, Beck believes that effective therapies can combine empathy and sensitivity with technical competences. Beck conceptualizes a partnership to devise meaningful evaluation of the client's negative assumption as opposed to the therapist directly suggesting alternative conditions. The therapist function as the catalyst and a guide who helps clients understand how their beliefs and attitude influence the way they feel and act. Application of therapy of cognitive therapy. So cognitive therapy has successfully used so cognitive therapy has been successfully used in a wide variety of other disorders and clinical areas, some of which include treating phobias, psychosomatic orders, eating disorders, anger, panic disorders, and generalized anxiety disorders. So, application, so uh, meron siyang applying cognitive techniques, no? Describe both as cognitive behavioral and behavioral techniques that are part of overall strategies used by cognitive therapies. So treatment of depression, Beck challenged the notion that depression results from anger turned inward. Instead, he focuses on the content of depressive negative thinking and biased interpretation of events. So the application to family therapy, the cognitive behavioral approach focuses on the family interaction patterns and family relationship cognitive emotions, behavior, and are viewed exerting a mutual influence of one another. So, application of cognitive therapy. So, ito na yung mga ito na yung mga applying cognitive techniques, treatment of depression, and application to family therapy.